Contact a Family is a UK charity providing information and support to families with disabled children, whatever their disability. In this podcast, I spoke to the mum of 3 children. At the time of the interview, the children were aged 18, 9 and 1. Sasha, who is 9, has late infantile Batten disease. How old was Sasha when she was first diagnosed with Batten's disease?
She first started having seizures in December 2003 when she was 3 years old, and she didn't get her diagnosis until 2005, about a month shy of her 5th birthday. So we had nearly 2 years of seizures and Sasha falling downstairs and having drop attacks and having episodes of blank stares, and we really didn't know what was going on. We thought maybe it was epilepsy and her consultants pointing us in that direction.
During that time, what sort of support were you given?
Well, from the very first seizure, we saw a consultant maybe every month, and then she spent quite a lot of time in hospital in 2004. Everything was very much up in the air, and we were seeing quite a lot of people. We were backwards and forwards to hospital in London, seeing different people.
How did that fit in with family life at the time?
Luckily, I'm self-employed and I work as a registered childminder. It meant that I could take the children that I work with along to the hospital and make it a bit of a learning journey for them. So it's actually quite easy for me. I didn't give up work, and I hardly took any days off.
Before you were given Sasha's diagnosis, were you concerned that it might be something more serious?
At first, we did think it was epilepsy and that it could be managed. Our consultants were trying to find out exactly what kind of epilepsy, but a lot of the time we just weren't sure what was going on. And I think it was in 2004 that Batten's disease was first mentioned to us.
Were you given much information about Batten's disease?
I had to go and look for it myself.
When you read the literature, that must have been a shock.
It was a shock, but I refused to believe that it was Batten's until I had a diagnosis, because I didn't want to have this thought in my mind when it might not be that. And that was just one of my ways of coping until I knew for certain.
And when you were given the firm diagnosis that it was Batten's disease, how did you cope with that?
Well, it was the worst day of my life. We were all just crushed beyond belief, because then you knew what the outcome was. Luckily, my family and friends just rallied round and were really, really supportive. I went into meltdown for about a month. I just couldn't function very well. And then I went into action mode to see what I could do about it.
Did they give you any counselling?
I did get to a stage a couple of years ago where I just thought I was going mad, and the family wasn't working because of how I was feeling, and I was offered counselling, but I think it's really, really important initially to get some help as a parent dealing with this illness.
What's been the most difficult thing over the last few years?
The difficult thing is sifting through all of the information to try to find out what can be most relevant or helpful to your child, because there is an awful lot of information out there, but you can't try everything, and you don't want to chase pipe dreams. That's the hardest thing, just knowing exactly what to do, because every single child is different. You can't follow the script that another family followed. You just cannot do that. You've just got to get as much information that you can.
Children with this condition are affected in very different ways.
Many different ways. Sasha is on some very heavy duty medication. She takes 6 different types of drugs, and over the years we've had to tweak those, sometimes putting them up by 0.5 milligram to see whether that would stop the seizures, and then she would present with new types of seizures, so you'd introduce a new drug. Nobody knows the effect of all those combinations of drugs on the child, because every child is different and no other child is on all of these drugs that I know of. So that was really hard, moving the medicines up and down. Sasha sometimes felt very sick, sometimes she was sick, sometimes they didn't work. That's been quite difficult, although I think we've kind of got that right now.
Apart from the seizures, how else is Sasha affected?
At the age of 3, she was talking, she had really good cognition, she was out of nappies, she was going to nursery school, and slowly over the years all of that has stopped. She's now blind, she's incontinent, so she doesn't have control over her own limbs, she cannot sit up by herself, she cannot dress herself. It's like having a 9-year-old baby. She's really lost everything that she had.
How have you found trying to access services to make life easier for Sasha?
Luckily, I'm a doer and I know how to get things and I know how to get people to get things for me. So I wouldn't say that's been particularly difficult, but I can understand for some families that would be an absolute nightmare. There are some things that I'm still only just finding out. For example, if you have a disabled child or person in your house, you're entitled to 25% off your council tax. I only found that out this year. You get discounts off your TV licence. I've only just found that out. But in terms of social services or occupational therapy or physiotherapy, that's all come to us quite quickly.
Education-wise, are they planning for her education?
When Sasha was first diagnosed, we had to get an educational statement because her knowledge was going to go down and her ability was going to go down. She started off in a nursery, and very, very quickly she had one-to-one care. Somebody came in the nursery to play specifically with Sasha and to help her to maintain her abilities for as long as she possibly could. On the age of 5, she went to a school for children with moderate learning difficulties. She was only in that school for 3 months, but again, she had one-to-one care. She had a programme of education tailored specifically for her, but as her illness progressed, they were no longer able to cater to her needs in that school. So she went to the school that she's at now, and she's been there for 3.5 years. To say they are wonderful is an understatement. Sasha is an individual. She has her own programme. She has termly targets which change as her illness progresses. So they realise that she may not be able to do the things that she was doing 2 years ago, but there are things that she can do. Like she might be able to shake her head or respond by opening her mouth to a question, or if somebody says, "Good morning, Sasha," they might look for a response, and that will be her target. She'll never stop learning. They'll just tailor her targets to what they think that she can achieve.
Have you talked to other parents who've got children with Batten's disease?
Oh yes, definitely. I've spoken to parents all over the world. We went to Sweden in 2004 to see a family whose son has got the same strain, Late Infantile Batten disease, as Sasha. There are some families with 2 children that we know of who don't live too far away, who've helped us see how the disease progresses because their child is a year older than Sasha, so that's been really helpful. There are families who are bereaved who have helped us, people in Manchester and Scotland. I'm on the internet quite a lot to families in Canada and in the US. We just share information, and I get an awful lot of emails from families who are coming up behind us whose children have been diagnosed after Sasha, who are asking me for my opinions.
There's the Batten's Disease Family Association. Did you find it useful being in touch with them?
Oh, most definitely. When Sasha was first diagnosed, they were one of the first people that I turned to. I didn't know who else to go to, really. I went along to the conference and met other families.
You spoke earlier about your family and your friends. Is that what gives you the most support?
Absolutely. I don't know what I'd do without them. They're very highly involved in Sasha's illness, perhaps more highly involved in supporting me, really.
What would you say is your family's greatest achievement as a family with a child with a disability?
We've been through some really hard times, all of us. I think we've had this disease thrust upon us, which just feels like you're being compressed all the time on top of all the other family stuff that you're going through. We haven't come out the other side, but we're still a big family unit, really strong, who all support each other through this. Sasha's not going to live, we know that, but I just hope life after Sasha will be something that we can all cope with. But my fear is that life, because I know it will just break down, but you know, we're pretty strong and hopefully we'll get through it.
The Contact a Family helpline can provide information and support on many of the points raised in this podcast. The advisors on our free phone helpline can assist with issues around benefits entitlement, navigating the NHS, and issues around education. We can also locate local and national support groups, provide medical information, and link parents whose children have rare disorders. In addition, we produce a wide range of publications. For further information, visit our website at www.cafamily.org.uk or call our free phone helpline on 0808 808 3555. For video interviews with parents, visit our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/cafamily. This recording was made in September 2009. The views expressed in this podcast are for information purposes only. The material is in no way intended to replace professional medical care or attention by a qualified practitioner. Condition symptoms may vary in type or severity amongst individuals. This podcast is to demonstrate the personal views and experiences of this family only. For approved medical information about this condition, see the Contact a Family website at www.cafamily.org.uk or contact your doctor.